Speaking of Kyle Shanahan, he had comments about Steve Wilks. When it came to that zero blitz call
He did
with
not miss
16
Lance.
seconds left in the first half, Kyle Shanahan was asked about it, and he kind of was like, told the media, he said, you guys are going to talk to him tomorrow. He knows that it was unacceptable. I don't have a problem with calling blitz, but I have a problem with it when you're calling it with 16 seconds left in the game. And he knows that he made a mistake on that call and that should never happen again. He was pretty harsh when addressing it. Nick Bosa also was asked kind of about his lack of he was asked about like the defense struggling, and he alluded to the difference in scheme that Steve Wilks is
We used to
using.
just rush
And then
forward.
yes, and then today Steve Wilks kind of had his hat in his hand and apologized for his play call. Do you think that Kyle Shanahan is throwing Steve Wilks under the bus? Do you think the criticism is warranted? How did you feel about that call and how it's been talked about since?
No, it was warranted. He has to hold his coordinators accountable because that's not 49ers defensive football. I haven't seen I can't recall a big play like that, especially like in such a critical situation. The 49ers have let up in, God, I can't tell you when for a touchdown pass. And that's in a situation like that. Like I can't think of one. Like that was kind of inexcusable. And again, there's going to be a take of like, well, if Ward makes that pick, we're not talking about it. Yeah, sure. And he messed up and he needs to be thrown under the bus as well. Cause that was pretty pathetic that he failed that. Like as a corner, it's like,
But
dude,
it's
you got to
also
snag
like
that.
corner versus wide receiver, and we're like, you know what I mean? You got to put your guys in a better position than that. Like
Right.
90% of the
So
time,
to me,
the
it's
wide
like,
receiver is going to be the one that catches the ball. That's why
yep.
Ward is a corner.
Yep. But yeah, so of course he gets blamed for that, and but I think ultimately it's just like you said, the situation is like 16 seconds left. It's third down. All we need is just play coverage and make him dump it off to burn time. I don't know if Vikings had a timeout, maybe they had one timeout, but the point is just throw it short because they still have a good length of the field to go just to barely get in field goal range. So to me, it's like make him work for it. But that wasn't the case at all game. Like, it wasn't even just that situation. It was like, it felt like everyone was always open, like a solid 5 to 10 yards, and then they would get a little extra yak. And it's like, dude, at some point, like, just plug your players in these zones, stop blitzing as much. Like, it's clear, like, the blitz is not working. What I just said about Kyle Shanahan is like, yo, McCaffrey and the overall bashing the Reddit game is not working. Wilks, look at the game. You're up there in the booth for a reason. You get a better look. It's not working too often. Maybe dial it back a little bit, play more coverage. And, like you said, like read my article and Kyle Shanahan, what he talked about specifically today not today. Yesterday, he gave a piece of why he thinks Bosa's numbers are down. And he says, like, look, when the pass rush is good, our secondary isn't. And when our secondary is good, our pass rush isn't. So they're not in lockstep with each other. They're not playing complementary football in that sense. And to me, I think it makes perfect sense. Like the same thing with Bosa's comments. We're not rushing for, but because we're not having so much just playing like Loctite coverage and forcing them to try to forcing the quarterback to hold on longer and try to scan, it gives us less time and operate to work with. I think I saw someone put a stat out there, which is not too significant. I think the Niners opposing quarterbacks against the Niners defense had 2.7 seconds to throw. And this year they have 2.5 or less, which, it's 0.2 seconds. It's like, yeah, but there's probably a couple games that are skewing it heavily, like the Rams game specifically. I bet you Stafford was averaged 2.1 because that's how fast it felt like he was getting out the ball that game. So, I mean, they're doing that because there's open leverages. And I think that's part of the thing when you play man or just soft zone or something like that. And D'Amico had that issue too last year, right? How many times he would tell his receivers to play 8 yards off, and it's like they're just going to keep throwing slants all day, D'Amico. Put them up there and then
walking down the field.
So yeah, at that point, it's like we got to mitigate those big plays and give our pass rush a chance. They're getting highly paid for a reason. Let them go earn it.